think you're one of those people that's taken away from my true victims.
It's only in the details that you start seeing how a reporting victim becomes a suspect.
They will turn to those interrogation tactics that are designed to elicit confessions from suspects.
How can you tell me that I'm lying to you when there are no cameras?
You're taught to turn to police in times of crisis, but what if the justice system turns it against you? A groundbreaking documentary called Victim, Suspect chronicles the investigation into a shocking nationwide pattern. Young women tell police they've been sexually assaulted, but instead of finding justice, they're charged with the crime of making a false report. Many are arrested, even imprisoned by the system that they believed would protect them. The documentary is now being recognized as a finalist in the Scripps Howard Awards for excellence, for journalistic excellence. The awards are sponsored by EW Scripps, which is the parent company of Scripps News. And joining us now is reporter and producer Rachel De Leon and director and producer Nancy Schwartzman. Thank you both for taking the time to be with us today. Rachel, I'll start with you. For those who have yet to see the documentary, what did you find?
So what I found was that there were cases all across the country, almost in every single state, where young women were going to report a rape or sexual assault, and they were finding that they were becoming the suspect, oftentimes because the police were seeing them as liars. And I was finding patterns in these police reports around inconsistencies, which are very, very common if you're reporting something after you've been traumatized. And so a lot of these things could sometimes be easily explained by trauma, but the police were misunderstanding or seeing it as deception.
And Nancy, for you as the director, you had so much information to go through, but you want to make sure that viewers truly understand what you found. As the director, how do you go about that process?
Yeah, you know, there have been many films about the topic of sexual assault and, you know, the experience of victims. But I think what set this apart was hours and hours of actual interrogation footage where we could watch sort of law enforcement use these tactics normally reserved for possible criminals or those who have, you know, lied or trying to cover for themselves. We saw them use these tactics against victims. And I think for me as a filmmaker, the show don't tell element is so important. And we had an opportunity with those hours of footage to really, you know, put you in the shoes of a young victim in a very cold room as a young person, having just survived a trauma, going to get help, and then letting it play out so that you watch it get flipped by law enforcement. So for me and the team, it felt really important to have a visceral experience and understand how that manipulation can occur, especially for the victims that we profiled in this film.
Yeah, it's so powerful to actually see what happens inside the interrogation room. And I'm always left wondering, for these police officers, you know, you get into this line of work ultimately to protect people, but then these issues happen like you're showing in this documentary. I mean, Rachel, what did you find to be at the crux of this problem? How does it get to this point?
We had talked to a retired detective in the film, and he offered his perspective, which I, you know, think is very possible. It's that some detectives are faced with too many cases. They want some of them to go away quickly, and it's pretty easy to corner an alleged victim into a recantation, to tell them that, you know, well, I don't really think you were raped. I think that you drank too much and you just had regrettable sex. And a lot of victims experience shame around what happened to them. And so it's really not that hard to get them to back down and say, okay, I mean, I guess I wasn't raped. And then they're very, you know, quick to write in their report that, you know, this person said they made it up and essentially recanted. But it's really not that simple. And so, so some may just be looking for a quick way to close out a case. But there seems to be something beyond that, because they could just simply close it out without charging or arresting someone with false reporting. But because they took that extra step, I do think that's a very valid question. I wish I were able to talk to more of the detectives who had arrested and charged these people so I could find out they did that. But it's a great question.
And Nancy, what do you hope police, as they watch this documentary, what they take away from it?
Look, I mean, just to echo Ray's sentiment, the retired law enforcement officer that's featured in the film, who does a lot of training for law enforcement, his name is Carl Hirschman. He makes clear sexual assault cases are hard to investigate notoriously, especially when law enforcement focuses so much attention and energy on the victims. We need kind of a redoing of how investigations are handled, where patterns of perpetration are looked at, where inconsistencies in victim statements are understood as results of trauma. So there are really good trainings about this, and it's really about flipping the lens onto how does this happen? Is there a pattern? Who might these perpetrators be? Instead of picking apart a victim's story, which is very outdated. Like, I think our society has moved forward in understanding that women and victims don't lie. That is a myth, right? It happens at a very small percentage. The larger percentage is that those who commit assault are doing it in repeat ways, and it's not usually their first time, and there are patterns to start to learn. So if you really want to sink in and explore investigation as a law enforcement officer, this is a kind of not just important, but a potentially exciting sort of realm to advance. So there are law enforcement officers who do this training, and we invite them to learn how to do it better.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I want to thank you both for being with us. It's an incredibly powerful documentary. Congratulations on the nomination.